So now this is Baruch here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and before this year starts, I thought I would bring out this book, which is called the Eitz Chaim Limso Ehem, which is really a production of the yeshiva of Rabbi Mordechai Atiyah. So I don't know, the Teres Tzvi, I think it's called. I'm not sure exactly what it's called right this moment. At any rate, this really shows the mochin that are going to Zeranpin. And today we're going to be talking about the mochin over here. This is all Abba. Abba has a chachma of Abba, the bina of Abba, the chesed of Abba, and the gevur of Abba. We'll just make the short version, but this is really mean the chasana of the das, and this is the middle line. So he's going to say that this is going to move over here because it's the bina of Abba. It attaches to actually bina herself. That is Ima. So it moves like that because there's going to be a switch, and this is going to go back the other way. So also we're going to talk about this line right here, which is going to be the Bina of Bina. This is Ima called Bina. This is Abba called Abba. Once again, there are four separate mochin, and each one of the mochin has four mochin within it. And that's what you're looking at here. So we're going to go through counts and different kinds of things that have to do with that. And that's going to be part of the lima today. Okay, can you hear me now, Rebbe? Okay, thank you. So I thought we'd go back over here. We have some details to go through here in the Tiva Gavanos on the Indian Tzitzit. And just a word about what was looking at. There is one more little piece in the Sefer Tzniuta on this subject. It's like we're beating the subject to death. It's I'm still not 100% sure all the different possibilities what the concept of 12 means over there. And we maybe see the last piece that we have there, if we could get through this now. So we're on page Reish Kaf Bet, and we're on number Nundalid, and we're really reading the typical bonus, I think. I think that's what we're doing. So it says, Va'ata Vivara Rabes Kavanas Hatzitzios Levad. Now I just want to talk about the Kavanas of the Tzitzis. And he says, Sheyesh Shnei Sugei Tzitzios. There are two different kinds of tzitzis. Asuga echad shel tzitzios hu hatzitzis ha'asuya b'chutei lavan im chutei tachelet. So he says this is the combo of these two colors, and I'm not sure that he really means, but like in Olam Asiya, maybe he means Olam, a higher, that is in Olam Atzilus. But anyway, let's see. So these are the tzitzis that at the time of the Beis Hamikdash that they put on because that's what it was. It was chutei lavan in chutei techeles. So he says, but he said, "Avachasuga sheni shalatzitzios who atzitzis asuya b'chutei lavan levad." They just come from lavan, and that's just like a roundabout way of talking about this. והוא כמו הציצis שעד הזמן הזה, the Churban, that we're in the time of the Churban, אנו נוהגים להטילו בטלות. So this is what we put the white ones on, that's what we put on. וזהו ציצis עשוי מחוטי לבן בלבד, that's what he meant to say. ושני המינים הללו של הציצis, so these two different kinds, הן המין דחוטי תחילס עם חוטי לבן, so either with that kind, והן המין דחוטי לבן בלבד, שניכם יוצאים ממוחין דמצד אימא לבד. They both come just from the mochin of Ima, from the Ima side. He says, as they're coming into Zeranpin, Atzitzios, Atzitzios, Ein Lechem Shum Shaychus Ima Mochin the Abba. So these are all, one way or another, the tzitzis represent mochin the Ima. So all the difference between them, who bezos, is in this idea. Let me see, I'm having trouble getting on the page. Okay. Shehamin harishon shel tzitzis said that the first type, shehem chuteh tachelet im chuteh olavan yachdav, hem yotzim b'muchat hachma the b'tzad ima. So they come for the chachma the zad ima. What's that mean? Achar achiluf. So the Chochmah that's going to the Zah, and he's going to explain it more. So he says that after the switch when they go in, shezecha b'muach hachokma the zecha de b'tzad ima, because this is the chokma of their anpin from the side of ima. Shehem arba milu yaku hoya b'dechida koda machilav bina dezad de b'tzad abba. So I have the mitzulos, and for the camera I'm showing it over again that it was originally the bina of the moach bina of abba, and now it's going to become the moach chochma of ima. So that's what happens in the switch. So he says v'keven shatzitzis shalchuti tachelet v'chachut halavan. So since the tzitzis that we're saying is the mixture tzitzis, Ramazan the mokum shal chochma the b'tzad ima. In other words, it's the chochma in looking at ima, her chochma going into Zeir Anpin, which is going to go into his chochma, was originally part of Abba. Shekodem Bechilav Choyse Bina de Zacha de B'tzad Abba was originally the Bina going into Zam from the side of Abba. So he said, L'chein Machbas Godel Ma'alas Amochem Mahens, because they came from Abba. Choy Noeg min Zeh Shal Tzitzis, that the Chedet of Laban, so therefore we say that this mixture tzitzis, Rab is Man Shehoyer Bais Kaim, that only took place at that time. In other words, this is what's bothering me here is that does he mean to say, as he's about to say, that the Edzman said there's no chiluf? The chiluf was only there. Let's see. Avamin atzitzis shuhu rak mechute loven bilvados shachayom bizman agalos an noagim lolvushas atzitzis azu shalchute loven levad. So he says, what are those? Shazu atzitzis shalchute loven levad. He meremeves al arbis hamochim sheyesh bebina dezad b'tzad ima. In other words, just looking at ima, right, and her bina, the bina of ima would be akis. Let's see how that works like that. Just 1 second. So he says, right. So he says, dezad b'tzad ima v'hein arba midlui aki. So these names that are now these 4 miluyim aki, Hari bina de zera de b'tzad ima, that is the bina of Zad that's going to go into Zad's bina, because it's right up above him on the left side. There's no switch. Gambit the called the machida, who was always bina. So now he says in the bizman azeh, you're not getting Abba mixed into Ima. I think that that's what he's saying. You're not getting the Bina of Abba mixed into Bina, which would be on her right side because it comes from Abba. So therefore, we don't have this. Because what is he saying? He's saying, what don't we have? We don't have a situation of the chilus. I think that's what he's saying. So therefore we only wear white. Because it's a remiss to the fact that you don't have that chillah. So he said, what were the last words? The last words were Umishum kach bizman hazeh en lanu tzitzis im chuti techelos ki im tzitzis shal chuti lavan levad. We only have tzitzis of white. So he said, is because of the time of the base of Mikdash, we're able to bring, really actually do, which is the chelis. So he says the chokhmah that's on the side of ima now, which is after the switch, which is the bechinas of tachelet. So you have now tachelet on the right side of ima going into Zerzah Anfin's chokhmah. So you're able to do that just the same way you were able to take the Mochin Debina. Masha Ein Kainata. But that switch, he's saying is, I mean, I believe this is what he's saying. I'm not sure because it seems like a strong statement. He said, "But Masha Ein Kainata," which is not the same as Manazeh. We're not really able to do this. So he's saying, well, what we have now, so we put on tacheles. I'm one of the people that does that. Rav Shik always said to do that, the Redziner type, and it's a remez. It's just a remez to what used to be, where we're able to bring the moach of the bina of Abba and make it the moach of the chachma of bina. That switch, alarat b'koach. We're only able to do it potentially. Okay, so to me, I didn't really realize this. I started reading it with you. It is a little bit of a problem here that he's saying that actually you don't have a chiluf. I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, I think he said that there's no chiluf now. The chiluf only takes when you have there's a certain power at the time of the base of Mikdash that allow Abba to become a part of Abba to become a part of Ima and vice versa. That's what I think. So as long as we're doing that, this next piece is long, and I would like to read. We have a little bit of time, and I would like to read the top part and just familiarize ourselves with a little bit of the ideas and attitudes that are being stated here. It says the Indian that sits in Shehoy Bisman and Migdash. Now he's going to talk about that. So now he wants to get a little more microscopic and look at this. Menevara Takida Indian that sits Yos Shehoy Noagim Bisman Shebesa Migdash Kaim. This is what it used to be. But the Chelis Lovan, so Beloved. Hayotzim Muach Chachma the Ima, which come from the Muach of Chachma the Ima. That is, it goes into their anpin from the Chachma, which is now the Chachma the Midrash, also the Chida Bibina the Abba, which was originally just the Bina of Abba. B'hina b'Chachma zu the Ima yesh ba arba shemos Yaakov. So we saw that before it has 4 names of Yaakovs. These are all Yud K Vavs. We pronounce it Yaakov. Okay, so going on, we go of the Ima yesh ba arba shemos Yaakov. Okay, here we go. So he says, "Connectum aim arba tzitzios." Then you have 4 tzitzits. So you have the 4 different sets of name, and they have 4 sets of tzitzits. Ba'arba kantos atalos. So here's the arba, and each one of them, he's saying, fits into one of the corners of the talos. Now you count it up, and this is a thought that I had because I'm always concerned that I'm really not that interested in the counts that the Rav goes through here like these. However, they're important, but it just doesn't match up with me easily. And I realize it probably because the counting always goes with Malchus. And Malchus is of what he's getting at here is really the bottom line in a certain way. And that's why he starts counting. Every time he starts counting, he's talking about something is Malchus there, because that's where you get gematrias and the counts and so on and so forth. That's just a thought that I think I'm working on. So he counts up the letters there. If you count them up, there's going to be 31 of them. Because the first 3, and he just says it out loud how it is that it works, called Echad Yesh Bo Shmona Osios. Each one of them has 8 letters in it. Keneged Shmona Chutim Shabakol Kanaf. When this also, and these 8 letters now correspond to the 8 threads that you see on each corner of the tzitzis. That's the tzitzis comes out to be 8 threads. Aval Hashem Aaron the Milui Hayan, but the last one, the Milui Hayan, Ein Bo Elisheva Osius, it only has 7 letters. So Choya Sheva Chute Lovan, so therefore there were 7 Chutin of Lovan, the Echad Shal Tachelet, and one of them, that is the blue green, Mashlim the Shmona Chutim. It completes it to 8 Chutim. So now you had only 7 because each one of them represents a chut in their counts, and so therefore we have one that's not in the same number. So Indian huki Hashem Revi who sowed milui hayin. So he says because it's a milui hayin, and you can see over here that it doesn't have the same number of letters in it. So it has to be counted out. So going on a little bit more, I don't want to go too far because I'd like to see some of that last bit of the Sifrit Tzniut if we could. So he said, "V'kol haim b'malchus, v'gam b'pechinas v'chelis hu malchus k'naitis." See, this is how it goes. This is that we start counting, you start talking about malchus. Ashecha b'chus so the hey achron is the chavayach chaserim b'shem Yaakov, which is the missing letter in the name Yaakov. And what's that missing letter? He said that missing letter is malchus. So what's playing? I don't know. Because they the hashlim cheshbon alamed beis chutim. Now, in fact, there are 32 chutim, not 31, and each one of those numbers he said represent the chut. And the Lord came as a malchus shehiyat tacheles v'imonim. So therefore, you take malchus with the tacheles along with them. They the hashlim. So now you take this other thread. He said it's kind of hard to see exactly how he did this, but it says that he says it, and that makes it 32. You only really have to go to the fourth corner because that's what's represented by the 31 letters. Called the tzitzios, not the rest of them. So I said, why? He said, well, the Indian who said the Indian is like this. The main part, is on the fourth one. Okay, that's where you need it. But this is the concept once again that the final letter or the final chut is malchus. So that whole piece is about malchus. Is a milui hayin. But we put the chelas on all the rest of them too. Derek Remes Bilvat, only as a reference, a hint. Yanki Haim the Churim, since why? Because they represent the male side. The chelas really was originally the bina of Abba. The Ainim Stricham Alov, and you don't need them. But there we're not taking the malchus itself. She'en came choisech of Abaya Shaloima, so then you would have a complete Abaya. Bahare ein kan ella shlosh osius Yaakov bilvad, so then you're left with only those three letters. But we just take the milui of it only. So where it's really getting complicated in the count. For Indian, who the Indian is like this. So from that which has all of those in them, there is one Havaya that comes out and is complete, which is a reference to Malchus. So he says, Yotzer Havaya Achaz b'milui heyin, a remezes b'Malchus. Kashunikat osius milui hamilui, so then take the letters, the milui of the milui shalavayahi. Yehu esrim b'shlosh osius, you're going to come out to 23 letters. Now, this is what I'm thinking, is that this is all Malchus there. It's like when husbands and wives are together. The wives do all the talking, they go through all the details of everything, the gematria of everything that happened during their day, and the men don't do that. That's my thinking for as a psychologist. So just looking at that, Yihu Esrim B'Shlosh Osius Kemenyan Chut. So what's the gematria of Chut? Because then he spells it out for us. And then he said, V'zecha v'sov the Chut achesed. This is the concept of the Chut, chachoser, hachoser b'menach alamed beis chutim kenisker. So this is some kind of gematria that's supposed to lead us to this answer. So how do we complete it? We complete it through this milui, so that the tacheles, which is the milui, is the secret of the tacheles. But let's go back to the pasuk. He said the pasuk doesn't have the word chut in it. Ela pasil tacheles, but it has this word pasil. For who the rem is, and what's it trying to tell us? He saw the malchus anikra pasil tacheles, which is called the pasil tacheles. He gam came kalula me'eser kanaida. It also has 10 within it. V'nimsaki yeshba eser chavayis dehein. So it comes out like this. So if you add them all up, which God willing will be able to do sometime, he says shakol chavay b'gematria ben. V'esipam and ben is what? Gematria basil. So this is the end. He says we have. Okay, now we understand the chelas, yeah. Ki yesh ma'amarim bezochim for the b'tikuna the pliyi Allah achadadi v'kulam hem emes ki hatachelas hu b'shaloshem makomos v'kulam hem emes v'hu ki halo hu b'chinas amalchus shebachach b'de'ima hanikras b'techida b'bina de'ima. So we had just a very little bit of time. So let's see if I can stop this.